I'm going to be reviewing The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. I also picked up his other works, Becoming a Barbarian, and paperback from Amazon, and A Sky Without Eagles. I'll be reviewing those later. Who is Jack Donovan? I wanted to know. So hopefully you can see some of me through my writing anyway, especially if it's nonfiction and the letter's never meant to be read. Certainly you can learn about me in my maniacal 20s. But as far as who Jack Donovan is, let's find out. Okay. I want to read a quote. When I reviewed this on my blog, I quoted him several times. I won't quote him as much, but I want to read something I think is very profound. It's tragic to think that heroic man's destiny is to become economic man, that men will be reduced to craven creatures who crawl across the globe competing for money, who spend their nights dreaming up new ways to swindle each other. That's the path we're on now. What a withering, ignoble end. And of course, this Jack Donovan, The Way of Men. I think that's a really good quote. So who is Jack Donovan? Well, I didn't know, and that was fine. I was fine with that. Then I stumbled upon his work. I don't, if it was recommended on Amazon or I stumbled across his blog, something, but this is a conceptual analysis of masculinity, okay? I wondered, after reading it, like, how did we get so far off course? Where did I go wrong in life? Somehow I went wrong in my masculinity, in my endeavors. And where are my friends? I thought to myself while reading this book. Where are my brothers? And why am I ashamed of the way of men? So this book, needless to say, made me think a lot. And I have to say that for most of my life, I've been searching for something, a group, a religion. I grew up watching Braveheart, and a cause, something to belong to, somewhere to be. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why I joined the Army, to be a part of a brotherhood, if you will, and for the camaraderie, the mutual respect, the guidance, the mentorship, the paratrooping, yes. And all the, big vehicles I got to drive and guns I got to shoot, okay? And the sacrifice. So I'm not saying that I found what I was looking for in The Way of Men, right? But perhaps I've been looking in all the wrong places entirely thus far in my life, okay? If you are never truly challenged in a meaningful way and are only required to perform idiot-proofed corporate processes to get your meat and shelter, can you ever truly be engaged enough to call yourself alive, let alone a man? And again, as Jack Donovan in The Way of Men, I tend to agree there. Maybe some of the things that I was looking for from the military, I don't get from the operations. I don't get them from the work itself. I get them from the people around me and the friends that I make, and some of the writers, and future writers that I meet while being in uniform. But this is not a feminist bashing book or a guide to pick up women. A lot of times you'll find some conceptual analysis of masculinity that are exactly those things. This is not that at all. Instead offers a hard slap, that reveals reality after the headache subsides. So he smacks you upside the head, and then you clear up, and you're like, oh, okay. It awakens us to a dangerous path that men face should we, just tramp along, maintaining the gaze at our shoes. This book also stresses the importance of being part of a tribe. The things that I liked about this book is that I could quote Jack Donovan for days. I could just be like, hold on a second, mid-conversation, like, excuse me. In less dire times, as opportunities for men to demonstrate the tactical virtues decrease, honor broadens its scope. Take that, This is the kind of book that one reads, which makes you, highlight entire sections if you're reading it on Kindle and say, you know what? He's right. Oh no. He takes on the challenge of describing the difference between being a good man and being good at being a man, which I think, I personally never read about before. I never really thought about it before. It's always like you want to be a good man. What does that mean? We idolize in movies, film and books and stuff. There's my dog Maggie. We idolize criminals a lot. Bandits. Are they good men? And Jack Donovan would suggest, maybe that they're not. They're just good at being a man. And we like that about them. They're decisive. There's a whole bunch of character traits. Right? Being good at being a man isn't a quest for moral perfection. It's about fighting to survive. Good men admire or respect bad men when they demonstrate strength, courage, mastery, or a commitment to the men of their own renegade tribes. The concern with being good at being a man is what good guys and bad guys have in common. Again, that's Jack Donovan, The Way of Men. His observations on the turning in our society is not just backed by jargon alone. I thought it was going to be a bunch of opinion-based stuff before I cracked it open, but I was pleasantly surprised with how much research. Actually, his amount of research is relentless. This is not just, some whiskey conversation. I mean, there's some of that in there too, but like Robert Greene, who has longer works about his title Mastery, and all of Robert Greene's works are really, really well researched. You just imagine him in their library for days. But so Jack Donovan also provides historical examples and context, but gives the reader enough to chew on, without being totally arrogant, which I appreciate. So where do I go from here, Jack Donovan? What do I do? Are these simply things to keep in mind, a new mode of being? A way of looking at the world, or what? That's the hardship of reading his book, The Way of Men, is where do you go from here? Now that you have been enlightened to the things that you thought were true about reality, or born in logic within reality, what do you do now? So, but this book has enlightened me enough to be proud of who I am. It has taught me to be less apologetic, less explanatory, and therefore less problematic. This is not an overnight fix. I mean, in interpersonal relationships, you can be so apologetic that you're not even doing yourself justice. So it'll take some time. Here's what I didn't like about this book. I still don't know who Jack Donovan is, and I remain uncertain. I'm intensely intrigued and scared at what I might find. Is he an illusion? A better man? For someone like Robert Greene, who has, a whole catalog of books, Jack Donovan does too, to a degree. I can kind of get an idea of who Robert Greene is. Jack Donovan, I'm not sure yet, even if I go to his website. What will I find? An illusion? A charlatan? Or a better man? A man who's good at being a man? I think that's who Jack Donovan is. For someone who's like dipping their toes into those waters, it could be a little scary to know that your reality is being shaped and turning in a way that you don't really want it to. I think that some may pick up this book believing that it will tell them, what to do. Okay, it does not. It does not tell you what to do. To be fair, it starts to at the end when Donovan suggests to form a gang, right? And his other books also on my summer reading list, on my blog, maybe more practical in nature, but this is more food for thought on the meaning of masculinity in our time, or the meaningless of masculinity in our time. Okay, I had to break this book up over a few weeks, which I don't normally do because I read like 3 books at a time. I listen to a book in my car or 2. I read a book on my Kindle, and I read a book, usually in physical form. So I don't know why this book took so long. I read magazines, newspapers, and blogs. how could this book throw such a wrench in my reading machine? Easy. I can tell you now, because it made me think way too much. Okay, I already think too much anyway, but this book made me think way too much. I thank Jack Donovan for that. It made me question a great deal, yet still I wonder, who is the man behind the book? A complicated man, to be sure. His controversial book, Androphilia, was reportedly, and I quote, required reading for young homosexual men looking for an alternative to disco balls, rainbow flags, and celebrity gossip. That was a quote from Just Out Portland. So what? Jack Donovan is gay? He looks like a paramilitary, like super trooper on his author bio. And if, he might be, and that's fine. That's fine too. Even more complicated. So how has he come to such conclusions? Is he for real? How does he live these principles he describes? I have no doubt that a day with Jack Donovan would change me forever, which is a tad scary, actually. I want to meet him now. I want to go to Oregon. I want to find out if he lives in a cul-de-sac neighborhood and ask him why if he does, Everybody, it doesn't really matter where you live now, but I imagine him out there, in the bush, living in an eagle's nest house, like in the middle of nowhere in Oregon, like chopping his trees down, right? Western men are supposed to constantly ask women for permission and make sure women don't feel threatened or undermined in any way. And I know what he means, and I see myself fall into certain traps with regards, again, to my interpersonal relationships. Yet I wonder how many would be turned off, right? How many men with daughters like me would have difficulty swallowing a hard truth? That doesn't mean that I think Donovan should have made this work more accessible or watered down in any way. Bitter pills are best swallowed whole. Honor diversity is an interesting slogan because it essentially means honor everyone and everything. If everyone is honored equally and everyone's way of life is honored equally, honor has no hierarchy, and therefore honor has little value according to the economics of supply and demand. Honor diversity doesn't mean much more than be nice. Again, that's from Jack Donovan, The Way of Men. Let's talk about what this does for my writing. Okay, this tops the charts with branding. Okay, I've talked about people's branding before, and they've done a great job with their line, or their covers are great. But I could not be more pleased when I received this in the mail. Okay, this, and I'm pretty sure Jack does his own cover design. From the font on both the front and the back. I'll just give you a picture of the back as well. These logos, Start the World, that's his podcast. I think his branding is great. His small press, dissonant hum, and to social media, Jack is a work of art, right? I think so. And this makes sense. It's what he studied before. I caught that on a YouTube video. He was giving a speech, right? His covers are instant t-shirts. I mean, really, I would wear a t-shirt with this on it. Highly recognizable. I actually tried to emulate, his simple yet tragic style on my Work Stiff Short Stories Tell Your Boss cover. And shamelessly, I did the cover design. I wanted to be simple, at least, with the snake and the business suit. I kind of at least wanted to give some kind of shout out to Jack Donovan. Thanks, for showing me a new way to do covers, because simple yet tragic is really cool. Himself is a masculine figure, which commands idolization. Go check out his website. Check out his YouTube videos that are tribal in nature. Some of them are very strange, and I would follow him into a jungle. I think is that where we're going, Jack? Into a jungle? I'll go. I'll bring a big machete. Reading this book has made me want to write a guide for young men. I think that men, ages 13 to 22 could do well learning some of these principles, especially with regards to honor. And, I reviewed 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. The diction maybe it's just the narrator on Audible, but the diction, the way Robert Greene writes, makes me want to write. It makes me narrate things that I do. So after a long day of driving or something and listening to Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, I want to write. Okay, I don't get the same kind of feeling from Jack Donovan. I didn't listen to The Way of Men. I read it in paperback form, the one I showed you here. I think hard and long about my own plight and that of the universe. This is one of the reasons this relatively short book, let's see, it's only 166 pages. It took me so long to read it. Why? Because I put it down and I started thinking. I wasn't writing. I was just thinking. And it's hard to knock a book. I sat here when I wrote the blog and I was like, should I get 4 stars or 5 stars? But 5 stars, I can't really knock a book for making me think. Okay, so I really appreciate it, Jack Donovan. I'll be doing, among all my other books, this is one of few YouTube reviews that I've done so far. I'm going to do some more. I'm also going to do Become a Barbarian by Jack Donovan and A Sky Without Eagles by Jack Donovan. So thank you very much, and I appreciate all the viewers. And tune in next time. This has been a review of Jack Donovan's The Way of Men.
If you'd like your book reviewed by Marc, check out marcdcrepeaux.com. Also by Marc, Modern Waste, Work Stiff, Poetry and Prose for the Common, Letters Never Meant to Be Read, and Work Stiff, Short Stories to Tell Your Boss, available on Amazon.com, or the link below. Please comment and enjoy.